First of all, it's delicious. It tastes like string beans. It's called the Asiatic dayflower. Um, Comes from Asia, of course. And it has two big blue petals and one little translucent whitish petal underneath. Linnaeus, who gave universal Latin scientific names to all the plants, called the genus that has the dayflowers, Asiatic and Virginia, Comulina. That's because in his day there were three Comulin brothers. Two of the brothers were brilliant botanists, represented by these two big blue petals. The third brother is represented by this teeny little translucent petal on the underside, which you can barely see. So what can you tell us about the third Comulin brother?
He was not a brilliant botanist.
He was not a brilliant botanist. He was a ne'er-do-well. His business ventures failed. He failed in love. He died young and would have been completely forgotten except for this plant. So that's why it's called Comulina. And it has edible leaves, and it also has edible seeds, which taste like green peas. They are tiny but good. And you should look at the flower with a magnifying lens as well. Who would like to try some? Here you go. Tell us if it doesn't taste a little like string beans.
You said peas.
No, no.
Is the flower edible?
Yes. And when I have kids on my walks, I will go like this, and they'll have a blue nose. It does have a dye in it.
Like an indica.
Yeah.
Is this blooming one a day?
One flower a day, yes.
Seeds don't taste like anything.
Peas. Raw peas. Peas and string beans are the flavors I get from this. To protect themselves by regenerating after they've been picked.
And the nutritional?
I've never been able to find any analysis on it. Most of the green leafy vegetables have iron, vitamin A, calcium, and potassium, usually in greater proportion than the commercial plants which have been bred to weigh more, so the middleman gets a better price from them. So they contain more water, but the nutrients are more diffused. Also, commercial produce is growing on soil which is deplete in minerals, so you get lower mineral contents. And because of the artificial fertilizers, the plants come up and get big, but there's not much nutrition in them because the soil is so poor. Okay, so if anyone else would like to collect some, be my guest. Otherwise, we'll move on. This grows in lawns and sunny, open areas.
So now you know, you can keep everything in there. Or you can weed
Then
it more.
just grow the weed.
Just grow the weed. Forget about the vegetables.
And you could put in some garlic, parsley, too, if you want. To make your own prepared mustard. Something salty too, either salt or some miso, which is a salty soy fish paste. You can give it a taste. A little, more than a slight. None of the plants we've seen so far are unique to the seashore. Forested as it is further inland, so instead of trees you get fields. And the plants that can manage culinary seasoning, these are from the fragrance. Bay leaf, yes. Okay, this is called the bayberry bush, northern bayberry bush, and you use these leaves as you would bay leaves. You put them in soups and sauces, remove them at the end of the cooking time, and they impart a wonderful flavor. I can't make tomato sauce without some of these. This is much better than the commercial bay leaves. And if you look at it at the underside of the leaf with a magnifying lens, you can see tiny little dots. Those are the resin dots that contain the flavor of the plant. Here, they have the resins look at the underside of the leaf and hold it up so that the sun is shining through it. See the little resin dots? The resin dots, and I would like everyone's attention, please. The resin dots have not only the flavor, but they have a resin that you can use when you have a sore throat or when you have diarrhea, because it acts as an astringent. It tightens the tissues. Do you see the little dots there? You see the little dots?
Actually, no.
You don't see the dots?
Oh, yes, yes, there they are.
Okay.
Little brown.
Yes, little
Brown
brown dots. So what happens, though, this is also the reason that doctors don't like herbs, because if the leaf is bigger or smaller, it'll have the same number of resin dots and the same amount of resin, so that a pound of large leaves will have less of the resin than a pound of small leaves, which means the dosage is undependable. And since doctors are used to using very concentrated drugs, where a little bit of a change in the dosage is the difference between life and death, these high near fatal concentrations are why taking drugs over a long period of time gives you side effects, which is actually toxicity. They are then suspicious of herbs where you can't control the dosage, but something gentle and mild like bayberry leaf tea for diarrhea or sore throat. Sore throat, you use it as a gargle. For diarrhea, you would drink the tea. A little more or less isn't going to make much difference. Now, if you want to preserve these for future use, take a whole bunch of the leaves and put them in a paper bag. In a couple of weeks, they will dry. Here, anyone else who would like to use the magnifying lens who hasn't seen the resin? Can I have a volunteer to hold on to the flyers? If we have passersby that are curious, just hand them one. They're not
What
curious.
is, see the seed in here, is that the seed? that
No,
it
this
makes, or
is the
stuff?
bud for next year's leaf. This is also something you should look at with a magnifier. Here, this bud's for you.
And what is that?
This is the bud for next year. Can't do anything in the winter. Okay, come in closer. Now, you're doing this right. Now, bring this in closer. Right around there. Now, look at the leaf and see if you can see the teeny little reddish-brown
Oh,
dots.
okay,
That's where the smell and the flavor is concentrated.
Well, will it be berries?
Never. If there are no berries, it's a male. Houses. It has a separate male and female bush, which is very useful because sometimes we have seashore tours where there are no restrooms, and then the males go behind the male bushes and the females go behind the female bushes. The female bushes have white waxy berries. People have boiled the berries, skimmed the wax off from the surface, and made bayberry candles. Very inefficient. You have to, one of my friends spent 3 days collecting enough berries. When he boiled them, he got 1/3 of a bayberry candle. There are southern species in the same genus that have much bigger berries with more wax, and those are the ones to use. We found those when we did a tour in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. And again, the Pine Barrens and the Long Island Pine Barrens were beneath the ocean, and the ocean receded, so you have this kind of sandy area where you can't get a lot of big trees, so it's mostly shrubs or stunted trees and fields and similar plants, although since that's further south, things that would not tolerate the New York winter will grow, just end their range in southern New Jersey. And make a mediocre tea with it. Okay, I was asked about another question about the bayberry leaves.
Yeah, and when they dry, does it lose any of the resin? Or
No,
it still
resin.
stays
The
with
resin
it?
doesn't evaporate. The resin is not volatile.
Okay.
There are some other things you can do with this. If you store grains, tape a few of these leaves into the lid of the jar where you're storing the grains, and the odor will keep the weevils away.
Wow.
Yeah, they do not like this smell. That's why it has the smell. It's an insect repellent smell that happens to be attractive to human beings. And you can basically collect a year's supply with just a few handfuls, because you only use like 2 or 3 of these in cooking, and you remove them at the end of the cooking time. Commercial bay leaves, which are like sort of cardboard and have sharp edges, have cut people's stomachs, These probably wouldn't do this. They're much softer, but you can still remove them at the end of the... Leaves are alternating. They're not in pairs. If you look at where they emerge from the stem, they're each single. And the leaves are long, oval, with very, very slight, uneven edges. You couldn't quite call them tall. Okay, what we have here is a plant called sea rocket. See? Rocket. It's a member of the mustard family, like garlic mustard. And let's break one off. It has these beautiful lilac-colored flowers with 4 petals in the shape of a cross, typical of the mustard family, which is also called cruciferiferous family. Garlic mustard in the spring will have similar flowers, although they are white. And to store water, fresh water is in very poor supply at the seashore because it just runs through the sand when it rains, and the salt water is toxic. The leaves are succulent. They are thick. Who likes spicy flavors? Oh, you've had this, I'm sure, a million times before. Here you go.
Is this another salad green?
Salads, soups. I'd like to try to make kimchi out of these. The leaves, the pods, if they are small and tender, you can eat them. When they mature, they tend to get tough.
It's a green potato chip.
Yeah, this is a wonder. I'm sure you've had this a million times before.
What's it called?
Sea rocket. Looks like little rocket pods, doesn't it? That's not how it gets its name. Rocket is an old name for mustard.
Wow, this one's
So arugula is called rocket.
That's cool.
Yes,
See arugula?
yes. I love this. As long as you don't uproot it, you can pick as many leaves as you want. It looks like this is all sea rocket here. Actually, before we pick it, we should check all the sea rocket plants out and see which one has the most leaves. Most of these are already going to seed.
What is this?
And who would like to look at this beautiful flower with a magnifying lens? This is gorgeous. Here you go, Connie. Take off the glasses. Okay, hold it to your eye. Come in with it. Closer. Here you go. Isn't that beautiful? I still have one lens for sale for $10. This is cocklebur, which is poisonous. However, this is the plant that somebody used as an inspiration to become a millionaire. What do you think they invented?
Velcro.
This is the one they invented, Velcro. My book says it was burdock, but it turned out it wasn't. Yeah, I was mistaken. It's actually this one, the cocklebur. And if you look at this under magnification, you're too far away. Keep it close to your eye and bring the plant in closer. If you look at this under magnification, you'll see tiny little hooks on the plant. Here, who's got another lens? Come in closer. There you go.
Oh, this is beautiful. It's like an orchid.
Oh, yeah.
See the little hooks?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to check.
That's so funny. I was going to call in your book. That's a really close.
Okay, this looks like one of these plants. One day, the pests managed to survive and mutate. And things like Agent Orange, that's Russian thistle. Best thing to do with that is send it back to Russia. P-H-Y-T-O, which means plant estrogen. DDT, Agent Orange, all of the herbicides and pesticides kill the insects by creating hormone imbalances. And the insects use very similar hormones to the ones we use. It just takes us longer to die from these hormones so that we can't really connect, legalistically connect the cause with the effect and sue the pesticide companies, especially since we're dead, so that these things have contaminated the environment and the phytoestrogen protects against those things.
but then they have surplus.
Okay, we have a couple of common seaweeds here. This one is called sea lettuce. Someone has a little bit of extra water. We could wash this off and try it. It looks sort of like green plastic wrap. Hold on to that one too. Okay, pour a little over here and let's rinse it off. A little more. Okay, that's enough. That should do it. Okay, who would like to taste this? This is an incredibly high source of minerals and trace minerals. It is very beautiful looking.
Sea lettuce?
Sea lettuce, yes. The flavor is very mild, but if you saute this about 10 minutes in a little bit of olive oil with some garlic, it gets an incredible flavor to it.
That's okay. Here's some dirty stuff.
We'll go over that too. Who hasn't tried the sea lettuce yet?
Give it
I want to rinse it in fresh water.
Pretty,
Do we have some, anyone else have some fresh water to rinse off the rockweed with? Has epiphytes on it. Plants living on plants.
oh dear.
Okay, thank you.
What? It's called what?
This is called rockweed. It's also called bladderwrack. This is what they used to give people with thyroid problems in past centuries. And if the thyroid problems were caused by iodine deficiency, it would cure them. It's a great source of iodine and other minerals. Who'd like to taste a piece? Tell us what it tastes like.
Haven't seen this before.
Yeah. It's like all natural bubble paper. Yes. It also makes, because of the minerals, it's a wonderful fertilizer to put on your garden.
Cornelius Bubble Wrap.
Rockweed or bladder something.
Bladderwrack. W-R-A-C-K. Anyone who hasn't tried it?
You eat the actual little...
You eat the leaves too. Rockweed or bladderwrack, Fucus vesiculosus. Now there are epiphytes, plants living on this, that are sort of in the way. And I would like everyone's attention. I want to tell you how to use this. This is one of your best mineral supplements. It also has sodium in it, so you use it sparingly. One recipe I did with this is first drying it. You can just hang it on a clothesline or put it in the oven with the door slightly open after washing off the salt water and the sand, and then you can store it forever. After it's dried, you add a tiny amount of olive oil to this in a roasting pan and cook it at about 275 degrees for about 30 minutes with some curry powder or chili powder added on it, and you get something that tastes a little bit like potato chips, but spicy. It is delicious. That recipe is in my book. The other thing I'm going to do with this is pressure cook it for about an hour, because cooking it takes a long time to cook to get it tender, and then chop up a tiny amount of it and add it to a vegetarian sushi with rice and some mustard and other ingredients, and this will give the fishy taste of sushi without fish in it. That I haven't done yet. That's like one of the projects I'm going to work on for my cookbook. Or maybe by the time Chris's video is done, the cookbook will be out.
How long do you roast it for again?
About 25 minutes at 275 degrees. You have to dry it first. If it's not dried first, it comes out too hard to chew. A tiny bit of olive oil, just enough so it doesn't stick to the roasting pan, otherwise it'll get greasy, and as much curry powder as you like.
Can you hold that still just for a second, because I need the contrast against your hand.
Yeah.
I need some of the parts in there.
And it has these paired flotation bladders. Grows at any seashore. The paired flotation bladders and a midrib, and it has a brown color. There are no deadly seaweeds growing at the seashore in America, but there are some that taste terrible.
Do you eat that too or not?
Yes. Yes, that's what I was giving out.
I want to get this little part right here. 'Cause that's pretty obvious. These little forked ends. These little forked ends here.
Yeah, really.
Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy right there. See that? Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5. Great.
Blades of, oh, they're close to you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Hold still. Oh, there he goes. He's over there. Here, who wants one? Catch. See?
Hold that. Great. Hold that shadow.
Oh, yeah, we may find some. You got it?
Yeah. First beach plums of the year, and look, they have a bloom on them, a waxy powder that rubs off. Do that again.
They have a waxy powder that keeps them from drying out, that rubs off. All plums have this. It's called a bloom, B-L-O-O-M.
Is that?
And I need to give people.
Okay. Oops, careful.
It's rad. Yeah, these are a little underripe. Do you find any more, Chris? Hey, poison ivy is in here. As a matter of fact, I should pick some.
You don't get it, Steve?
Not when I use a bag to collect it.
Okay. Just show it. No, poison ivy, we do make a medicine out of poison ivy in homeopathy. It's called Rust.
Keep on this. We'll get. Yeah, tree rocket. So what family is this in? Mustard. So how do you think it tastes? The third mustard we've
Virginia
seen.
creeper berries.
Tree rocket, garlic mustard, and this one is called poor man's pepper.
Poisons.
Incredibly delicious. Also anti-carcinogenic. Butter and egg. Poisonous. Probably gives you cholesterol.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Here's another delicious wild vegetable.
Great. Butter and eggs, poisonous.
Yeah, spring to fall salad soup. Okay, common nightshade. Take a look at this one. It has a leaf with and berries that turn red that look like little. The rose hip,
Delicious.
which I have found in season in Rockaway already, but I don't see any ripe ones in here. Just see nightshade berries. And very thorny blackberry bushes. I think we may not stay in here.
How they make their living, right?
That's a beautiful color of those roses. Yeah, they really are.
No,
I don't see a single
neither.
I see the raccoon.
I know, raccoons. Southampton, these people grow them like hedges.
If the flowers are blooming, then some of the older flowers turned into fruit.
Well, you can eat rose petals also, right?
Yeah. But
They get much bigger.
Grasses we could eat. We didn't use them.
They get about 5 times as big and they get red. And they are delicious tasting.
And do you just eat them?
Yeah, you remove the seeds from the inside and eat the flesh.
I hate your
The blackberry is the thorny one on the right.
Yep.
Autumn olive.
No, we're not going to break the branches. Again, you can always come back. You have a car, right? If you want to go and pick beach plums in a week or two. Yeah. Of all, the way I found these, I learned, if I can have everyone's attention, I learned foraging basically on my own, going for years with field guides into the woods and looking for plants. And the very first time I decided to check out a seashore habitat, since I live in Queens, I bicycled down Cross Bay Boulevard to Jamaica Bay. As soon as I got there, I went into one of the trails and found the biggest patch of the best beach a few weeks too early.
They dig these, they excavate these sites, and then they build a house right around there. Like that hole becomes the cellar.
They have mud huts that
Look at this bush.
they take grass and they mix it, and they have like a
This
form
is the
and
beach
they
plum.
pound it, and it becomes quite a
No,
hard.
these are
And then they
not
wash.
And ospreys, they were sort of, they're scavengers. They used to love it when the
Look at
You know,
those
the
big poison ivy
1800s.
berries.
farm animals.
beautiful?
You know, there's a lot of farm animals,
You must not get poison ivy.
especially horses.
No, I get it. I just don't. I'm just careful when I touch it not to break it.
They would do part of the rendering work, the bald eagles and the vultures. Clinton was first elected president, you know, he's from the South, you know. So that
Uh-huh.
raised legal questions. That's like if you marry your sister, how did that go? If you marry your sister in Arkansas, is she's still your sister in Texas?
Oh.
I forgot. That was when they thought he was a hillbilly. You know,
Billy Boy? I haven't had.
don't partake in the tea.
I don't have one.
But you're culturally isolated from your culture.
I know. I'm an outcast of the television age. Here I am
What are
making
you, a
here I am
Western
making
person?
videos.
Does this need silence or can I babble on? Cursing in.
The meadow mushroom, Agaricus campestris, this is the closest wild relative to the commercial mushroom, but much better tasting than the commercial mushroom. Has sort of a white to beige cap. It has gills that turn brown when the mushroom gets older. When it's young, the gills are pink. There's a little space between the gills and the stem. We say the gills are free from the stem. And it has a fairly short, stout stem. Has a delicious fragrance. Wonderful. And it's one that you can cook and eat. That is great. Who wants to smell this? Tell me what this smells like. Even the stem smells nice.
Mushroom.
I smell a bit of an almond fragrance
Oh, yeah,
to it.
you know,
It
now
could
that
be
you
a
said
different
that.
agaricus, but this is a very good group to eat.
That's the meadow one?
It's
Looks like
probably the
portobello.
meadow one. Yeah, same. Pass it around. Everyone can.
It's just you can't breathe in it. If you inhale it, it's natural.
some herons out there, and on the other side of the causeway there's some egrets. Can you use this grass?
What's there? Heron.
Aha!
Aren't they beautiful?
Chris found some Lepiota americana. This is the reddening look, it turns orange where it's bruised. And this is a very, very good one to eat. Lepiotas have a little ring around the stem. They decompose. Watch what happens with this ring. You can move it up and down like a napkin ring. See, it's detachable. And the mushroom turns orange where it's bruised. There are some poisonous Lepiotas, but this is the only one that turns orange, and it is delicious. It has free gills, like some, so you can detach the stem from the gills without rupturing the gills. See?
This was over in the woods, or?
It was right here, right here. And this is a very delicious mushroom. You cook this in some olive oil with a little bit of garlic, and it is wonderful. Like one? Okay. You get one, Chris? Who else wants one to take home and cook? These are out of this world. This is called the American Lepiota, Lepiota americana. Here, you may not have seen this yet.
Okay, that's nice. Remember these.
Take one.
Look for the ring that goes up and
Now
down.
here, these are the seeds, and they are very strong. You just eat one. You use them in breads like caraway seeds, or in soups. Use them very sparingly. They are strong. Do you bake, Connie?
I sometimes.
Okay, who else bakes here? Or make soups.
So if you put in a whole head full of seeds.
Seed, and then it dies.
So when do you pick the carrot?
You get the carrot when it's in the basal rosette form, where all the leaves emerge from the ground, where it's growing right along the ground. In the fall, or for the following year. Who wants the rest of this? Is the carrot biennial as well? Yes, the carrot is a biennial. Who wants some more to take home? You can put this in a bag and dry it. Who else does cooking or baking? Here's our cultivated expert. Beet, rutabagas, and turnips. Are those biennials or perennials? They're biennials. Okay, here is the younger wild carrot right in the poison ivy. Take a look, right. Like that one above you, to your left. That one. Does that feel soft? Pull it off. Open it up, throw out, scoop out the seeds, and eat the fruit. Show it to everyone first. That's the rose hip. Oh, this is a beauty, except it's still a little green.
It's half ripe on one side.
You open it up, get rid of the seeds, and eat the flesh. Here. As terrible as that's why it's not in my book. It's in other edible plant books where it tastes much better than it does when you actually pick it.
I guess only when they're reproducing or looking for new. How common are worms? At least trigonus.
Okay, we're going to go up these, up these
forest
This is
russula.
the firm russula. It's a little bit less
Poison
brittle
ivy in
than
the
the other
background.
and also also throw it against the tree. So
Not
we
good
seem to
at
have
all.
a lot of russulas here for some reason.
Big,
Yeah, there's the same one. This is called Lactarius hygrophorides, the hygrophorous milky mushroom. It has an orange top with a little indentation on top. It has white gills that are connected to the stem. What group of mushrooms do you think this is related to, the Lactarius, that we've just been looking at? The russula. Only one major difference. Look what happens when I break the Lactarius. What do you see inside? Come closer. You don't have to stand a mile away. What do you see here where it's broken?
Milky.
Milky. It's a milk mushroom. It produces a white milk. See the milk here?
Yeah.
Everyone see the milk? This is a delicious one to cook. This is great. These often don't grow in ones. They can grow in 20s or 30s or 40s. Who didn't get a mushroom yet today? Who wants one? Okay, you got this one.
Is that the same as this thing?
No, this has no milk, and this is the
I didn't
firm
snap it.
russula which you throw against the tree. And shatters. They're both both groups are brittle. Okay, are there more of you? And this one you don't throw against the tree, you eat, except that the slugs have already eaten it.
What's
Let's see
the
the top of that.
configuration of the gills for? Is that
That's where the spores come out. So if the spore lands on Okay, this is a bolete. I'm not sure which one. Probably the red cracked bolete. Also looks a little bit too old and soggy.
called the russula.
This one,
Is it edible?
yeah, when it's younger. Aquafluous milky mushroom has this white fluid in it. Not good to eat.
I have admirable.
And this is a pigskin poison puffball. True puffballs are soft and white inside, like cream cheese, or if you're a vegetarian, like tofu. And I'm gonna dig out my pocket knife and cut this one open. Here we go, one. Here, come up closer. I don't know why everyone is like a half a mile away. These are small things, you need to come in close. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, wow.
They use this to adulterate truffles because they figure if people vomit all night, they won't decide that it's because of the truffles. And the truffles are so expensive that it's actually
Does it smell like
it's
truffle?
actually efficient economically to do so. Not very ethical.
Smells
But
like.
that's poisonous.
Doesn't
Yeah.
smell good at all.
Yeah, but you won't die. You just throw up all night. And meanwhile, the
No, it does.
it doesn't smell very good.
That doesn't smell like a truffle.
Chestnut colored on top.
Do we have to watch about biting our nails?
White.
When we touch this?
No. White pores underneath, very tiny. I think you even need a magnifying lens to see the little holes. A stem that is whitish and hollow. Look, the stem is hollow. And the pores turn, I believe they turn brown later on, or yellow when they get older. And this is a very, very good one. How many people have chestnut boletes? A few of you. Okay. Boletus castaneus. Maybe Tolopolis castaneus, actually.
Is it free? It's not free gills.
It has no gills. It
I
has
know.
pores.
But it's not. It's not.
There might be a little space between the pores and the stem.
Yeah.
Okay,
Free pores.
Trailing arbutus. I think there are these
Not
that have something edible, but it's illegal to pick, and it is rare. I wouldn't have recognized the flowers.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, in the spring. Yeah, not now. Okay, let's see what other mushrooms. We're going to go to the top of this ridge and then make a right and head back to the parking lot, which we will eventually
more low-bush blueberries on the back, on the left. Oh, I see the blueberries. I see a lot of blue rice. Oh, yeah, there are ripe ones here. Come on in and try these. They're delicious. These are not huckleberries. They're related, and they're very good.
Chestnut bully.
Ripe low-bush blueberries. No crunch to them. Yes? Yes, look. More of the what?
Over here. Hello.
This is a waxy gill mushroom. These aren't good to eat. They feel waxy. Back into circulation, and after about 3 weeks, you die of kidney failure. Outside of that, it's harmless. When it's very young, it has a veil underneath that protects the gills. It looks sort of like a spider's web, and when the mushroom opens up, the veil becomes these little brown threads on the side of the mushroom. Violaceous cordonarius. Very beautiful. Yeah, very beautiful. This spider web-like ring. See this faint ring here? That's the cortina. Yeah, and you can see a little rim of spider web right on the bottom. Looks like one thread of spider silk. Right in here. Here, come over.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to hold it back this way in the light.
See? Right over here. One little strand of spider web silk. And the rest of the spider webs.
The purple one for your lecture?
Yes, yes.
Great.
The library doesn't have my check. This goes in their coffee.
I'll make sure I don't drink coffee that night.
Wow, can you possibly stand right here because I can get a shadow on it?
Sure.
Thanks a lot. Right there. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's neat.
That's a really lovely one.
That's amazing you can get that close with your lens.
Yeah, it gets in real nice.
You do all the editing.
One of the deadliest amanitas. And
So-
it has this little cup underneath. The amanitas have a veil that cover them when they're young. And when the amanita opens up, the veil can either make a little death cup on the bottom or it can form little patches on top. We saw an orange one with patches on top. Does everyone remember this? This is the other one. Here, there's another one down there. Get rid of this.
What's
Okay,
this?
bring 2 of those from the bottom. I'm going to use them in my lecture.
Steve, how can you determine it is an amanita if it doesn't have the veil or...
Of what kind? Oh, that looks meadow mushroom.
Rub it between the skin is more tender.
Yeah.
You tend not to get on your
This is related to the one that Chris found during lunch. It has gills that start off pink that turn brown. That's why I know it's not an amanita. The amanitas always have white. Forest agaricus. Related to the agaricus you found before. Grows on the ground in wood chips. Gills that are pink at first and then turn white. It has a ring that doesn't detach, and it is delicious.
Are the gills free?
Yes, the gills are free. Smell this.
We'll probably find
You know,
big
it made me
patches
look
of that
for it.
way
It was
home.
because don't mushrooms always grow near dead?
No, sometimes they do. Here, you can cook this and you will love this. This is going to be incredible.
What is that again?
How do I
It
do?
is
How do
the
I cook
farce.
it?
Just wash
The
it.
cup on that. Are they always
No, it doesn't
funicular
have
like
it.
that?
It has a
powdery.
bulb underneath. It's very
Oh, it's bulbous.
powdery. It's
Poison?
very flaky, so it probably comes from California. I don't think anyone was dumb enough to ever be the first to try this to find out
Oh, and we don't even know if it's poisonous or not?
No, no.
Smells like a swimming pool, huh? What's the name again?
It's called Coker's Amanita.
Who likes
Amanita cokia.
Yeah.
Or don't. Oh, yeah.
Is this a
Wow.
whole bunch of these?
No, no. This is the that's this powdery, yeah.
This is the younger Wells' Amanita?
Wells' Amanita. It smells like a swimming pool. And it's very flaky. I think it evolved in California.
Okay.
Alternate leaves with big pointy teeth, bristly husk, and in the end of September and October you might be able to open up these husks and find edible chestnuts inside. I've never been able to do that. I haven't been here at the right time. This is the only place I've ever found chestnuts with nuts on them that haven't been killed by this blight. It was brought over in the early 20th century when they brought Asian chestnuts to America that were not killed by the blight, but the American ones were almost completely wiped out. We are in Sunken Meadow Park on Long Island, and that's the only place I found such nice American chestnuts.
That one they had at
Can you come around here in the fall and see if these are up? Yeah, bring one home to your wife. These are incredible boletes.
Rusty spore boletes.
Boletus ferruginous. Has a reddish brown top. It has a very firm white port.
Redmouth boletes. Young one.
Did you write on your bag?
I didn't. I don't have my bag with me. I was going to give you a present.
Yeah, I've got extra bags if anyone.
I'll write on the.
Like an entire year-long mushroom course all in one shot.
really?
All we have to do is find quantity.
That's the Cordonarius again. Little spider web things here. Yeah. No, but no one really quite is sure which one. You know, I'll go over all of them at the end, okay? So you don't have to worry. I have not lost a student yet.
But do you have to eat them in the fall?
You should cook them tonight. They could have, the insects could have laid some eggs already that could hatch into larvae. And these are good. This is good to eat when it's still white and fresh, but not when it turns into ink. So you can't eat ink.
Boletus what?
This is Boletus plumboviolaceus. It is one of the
Plumboviolaceus.
most awful tasting things you could ever put in your mouth.
Okay.
These two boletes are in the Tolopolis subgroup. They have white pore surfaces and they are firm. They don't turn color. Whereas this one is different. It's a different group of boletes, Boletus subvolutipes. This actually turns blue when you crush it and has a red pored surface. Some of the ones with a red pored surface that turn blue this readily will give people gastrointestinal upset, although that effect has been greatly overrated. A lot of them are safe to eat.
Which one does not taste good out of this group?
Okay, this Tolopolis plumboviolaceus is horribly bitter. It won't kill you, it won't get you sick, but it tastes so bad it'll make you wish you were dead. Look at the habitats where mushrooms can grow.
It's a little damp there.
Wow.
Any chest pain?
It has gills under it, even though it's classified as a bolete, and they're supposed to be tiny little pores, which I've never seen. It also is not a good one to eat. It does not taste good.
Gilled
It's very,
bolete.
very beautiful. Yeah, here it is.
You want to bring that for the classroom? Or?
No.
Green quilted russula. Choice. Can you get by me? Death voor de beneden.
Because they dance with fake nails.
Those big round curved ones?
It doesn't have to exactly, but you know, it's longer than your own anyway.
What's longer than my own? Honey mushroom?
To put this on the Reuters news agency wire. It says Princess Diana has died. Sky Television says. Again, this is quoting the Sky Television news service.
Red mouth bolete.
See, we're going to go back to BBC coverage. This all happened at Paris time this evening. There's one of the motorcyclists who need to have been trailing at a high rate of speed.
Grey bolete.
Mercedes-Benz carrying Princess Diana. Let's listen to BBC.
Joining us as we look there at the images of some of the
And
flags which
chestnut
have been
bolete.
involved in tonight's incident being loaded onto police vehicles and also the details taken by the police. Well, it has been announced in the last few minutes that the British Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, who's been on a four-nation visit to the Far East, has delayed his departure from Manila, the capital of the Philippines. A few minutes ago, he made these remarks.
Milky Cap.
Well, we understand that the princess is in hospital. We are deeply shocked by the news, and our first thoughts at the present time are with the princess and her family. Our ambassador is at the hospital and busy. We will provide all possible assistance we can. In the meantime, all I would add is that I think it will be definitely tragic if it does emerge that this accident
Racula.
was in part caused by the persistent hounding of the princess and her privacy
Green
by
quilt.
photographers. Thank you very much. Thank you, Frank.
That's the British Foreign Secretary, the Foreign Minister, Robin Cook, on his...
Which is over here, a little bit out of reach. Get a nice sample of a branch for you. I'm giving a lecture in a library tomorrow evening, so a specimen is good. The leaves are sort of oval, ragged-edged, toothed, and they have this big sharp thorn on it. Warning, this thorn is very detrimental if applied directly into the eye, so be quite careful with that. It has berries with a five-parted crown. The crown, which you can see here on this ripe berry too, are sepals. These are modified leaves that enclose the flower before it's open. When it's a flower bud. Here, this bud's for you. Okay, pass this around so people can see it. This is the fruit. There are lots of species of hawthorn. Botanists are still arguing about how many species there are. As a matter of fact, one botanist was given leaves of two different hawthorn leaves and finally decided they were from two different species of hawthorn trees. It turned out they were from different sides of the same tree. So we don't quite know how many species there are. The varieties with big, fat fruits like this are the best ones. However, there also can be some problems with these. We had a tour in Prospect Park a few years ago where a woman by the name of Madeline, who was studying herbal medicine, attended, and she was so happy to find the hawthorns because the hawthorns are one of the best strengtheners of the heart, one of the best things for the heart. And they're also delicious. You eat the fruits like an apple. The next day she went to Central Park, found hawthorn trees by the Alice in Wonderland statue, and started eating them. And she was so happy that soon a whole crowd of people were around there eating them too. All except for one man who sort of stood along the side and wasn't eating any. And she said, "Why don't you have one?" "No, thanks, I'll pass." "Well, just try one. They're really good." "No, I really would rather not." "Well, why don't you even want to try one?" The man said, "Well, I'll tell you why. When you you first started eating them, I took one and opened it up, and there was a worm inside. And then someone said, oh, there's a worm in mine. Someone said, there's a worm in mine. And someone else said, they all have worms in them. So the moral of that tale is look before you eat. And fortunately for Madeline, she wasn't a vegetarian. But these particular trees are not wormy. As you can see, they are sort of yellowish white inside with seeds. And no worms. And just in case there are any, we'll play some music for them. Okay, whoever would like to try them, it looks like they're nice and clean from the rain. Just wipe them off to make sure. And they taste like apples. And if you make a tea out of them, just pour boiling water over them and let them sit. Okay, everyone who would like some of these, you can eat these raw, or you can cook them and strain out, cook them in some fruit juice with some cinnamon and ginger, strain out the seeds, and they will taste like applesauce, but with their own unique flavor. And of course, they don't strain the parts, so it's all organic. Yeah. No, they don't spray it. No. Not true berries. They are pomes, P-O-M-E, which is the same kind of fruit as an apple. It basically means that it has a thin skin, it has lots of pulpy flesh, and it has seeds toward the center in a core. And the French word for apple. But the black cherry is also a traditional American medicinal plant. How many of you have ever bought the cherry bark to make tea from an herb store or health store? Anyone know what they use that for? Inner bark. Under the reddish brown bark of the cherry tree is astringent. It makes tissue contract.
The reddish brown hairs along the midrib are how you differentiate this from the choke cherry.
Was used for sore throat because of its astringent qualities as a gargle. A small amount of the tea will also be good for diarrhea. But you don't want to go and attack the cherry trees in Central Park. This is a herb that, even though this is a very common tree, this is something you would go and buy because it is destructive to the tree. Any more comments on the flavor? Any questions? Delicious. They are in season from the end of July through they're all
Black
over
cherry
the park.
has
They're
the
one of
reddish
most
brown
common
hairs in the
trees.
underside and the
They
midrib.
don't all have cherries on them anymore.
Choke cherry does not.
And let them decay. If you wet the leaves and let them decay, they will release the
fine.
cyanide, and then you just invite the boss over for dinner, and he or she will no longer give you any trouble. Thousands of dollars worth of
The
cattle.
wet, decaying leaves of the black cherry release cyanide. They're very deadly.
Except the berries of the black nightshade turn black. The common nightshade, the berries turn red, and they look like little tomatoes. But you can see how similar flowers are. It's edible, but not as good tasting. Now, right next to it, we have another edible plant called lady's thumb. And this has a pink flower, long leaves with no teeth. The leaves are alternating. There is a sheath around the stem. Who sees this sheath right over here? You might want to come in closer so you can see this with little hair sticking out of the sheath. Lady's thumb. Sometimes there's a dark spot on the leaf that resembles a thumbprint, I guess just of a lady. And it has the pink flowers. This is in the smartwheat family. There are other smartwheats that don't have the hairs here, that will make you smarter, because they'll make your mouth smart so much when you eat them that you'll be smart enough never to eat them again. Now this has a very mild taste, sort of like lettuce. So let us give some out to someone who likes lettuce and tell us what they taste like. These are in season from spring to fall. So is lamb's quarters.
It tastes sort of like lettuce.
I'm surprised. Okay, as long as you don't uproot this, this looks like a nice healthy patch.
And you do eat the stalk also?
The stalks are a little tough. Oh look, here are the berries of the common nightshade.
And those are poison.
Box is I'll take one of the kids and tell them to press their thumb against the leaf, and then I'll show everyone, look, there's the lady's thumbprint. Then I'll tell them it's on all the other leaves too, and then they...
The name of that recipe I should look up?
Pate G-O-I-S, I think.
Pate O-G-O-I-S.
Look up
Goose liver pate.
Should be under pate.
French recipes.
Or gras, G-R-O-I-S, it might be.
G-R-O-I-S. The concern with the boletes, the red-mouth boletes, is simply for acute gastrointestinal poisoning. There is no suspicion of there being any toxins in the mushroom that could build up or do damage to the organs, other than simple acute distress.
In Fort Lee, New Jersey, and the people were really nice. They sent a limo to pick me up in Queens and drive me back. And after I told them, oh, there's a Turkish plant in my book, I described it to him. He knew what it was right away, and he told me that there's another use for it. Look at these branches. They are very straight, and they are thin. So, what the Turks would do is they would break off the twigs, and since ancient times, thousands of years ago, they would break off the twigs, and this is what the Asian ornamental plant called the jetberry or the jet bead, and it is poisonous. Has leaves in twos, opposite leaves, and fruits in fours.
Wow.
So you can kill four of your enemy. Jet black.
But before they turn, aren't they brown?
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember.
Something like that in Prospect Park, and I kept wondering what it was.
Yeah, jetberry or jet beet. It's not in my book because it doesn't look like anything edible. The only poisonous plants in my book are the ones that you could confuse with something edible. There are a lot of plants that are neither edible or medicinal. Now this over here is a bush that has alternate leaves that are pointed, no teeth on it. And these leaves, here look, these leaves look 3 or 4 handfuls like this would be medicinal. Smell them. Common spice bush. They will also have berries.
Black ones are ripe.
These berries are especially good when you cook them. They're not as good tasting raw. This is a shrub. It has leaves in pairs. The leaves are compound. Each leaf has 2, 4, 6, 7 leaflets. This is a compound leaf. See, here's the bud.
7?
Yeah, 2, 4, 6.
That one does, but how about this one?
This has a few more. Yeah, okay, some of them have more than 7. The fruit is in an umbrella-like structure, and this is it. And they are edible. These are incredible if you put them in soups, in pancakes, oatmeal, and muffins. Common elderberry, Sambucus americana. Anyone here who goes to health stores and buys herbs? Okay, they sell tea made with this berry for the immune system. It's quite expensive.
Tastes funny.
Yeah, it has a funny taste. It's much better cooked.
You make jelly.
Yeah, jam, right? Yeah. In Europe especially, in America, they sort of disregard the elderberry because in America, unlike Europe, people do not respect their elders. Does anyone else want to try this? probably different species. They do so. See, these must have been planted here, because I don't remember them from previous times. But maybe it's because I'm looking for mushrooms. This is a berry that is edible in October. This is a viburnum called that leaves in pairs in the fall. We'll be picking these next month. Aurora's Mushrooms Demystified has this particular mushroom on its cover. You would not believe how tasty this is. You have to cook it. All mushrooms should be cooked. Some mushrooms are known to get you sick if you eat them raw. Some are of unknown edibility.
Prince.
All cultures that use mushrooms use them cooked. Putting raw mushrooms in salad is only like about 150 years old. And mushrooms, even the ones that won't get you sick raw, have nitrogen that cause cancer cause. What you do is you take these mushrooms, wash off any dirt or use a brush to brush off any dirt. Put them in a frying pan with some olive oil, a little bit of garlic. Has almond type odor to it. It has a veil that covers the gills when the mushroom is small. See the veil here? And when the mushroom opens up, the veil becomes a skirt. Same structure. The gills start off sort of a pinkish color, and then they turn brown when the mushroom gets older. Let's get a smaller bunch and see if there's a spore print. See if one of them has deposited spores on another. No, no. Okay, these we'll just leave alone.
Okay, do we know what they are?
It's a Marasmius species. I don't know what species, but I know it's not a good one to eat.
Okay.
Did you get all the...
Gem-studded puffball. Edible and delicious. Where's the stinkhorn?
Time to pick more of the hawthorns, but there are so many species to find that we can, unless we're going to miss half of the plants, we're only going to be able to go over each plant for a short period of time. With the thorns, see the thorns on the hawthorn tree? Yeah, right here. This is something you can recognize. Lycoperdon perlatum, the gem-studded puffball. It has spores instead of coming out of gills on the underside like the other mushrooms we've seen today. The spores are inside, and you break it open, and if it's white and soft inside like cream cheese, or if you're a vegetarian like tofu, then it's a true puffball and it's edible. If it has a little cap inside and stem, then it's a different kind of mushroom that hasn't even opened yet, and it could be a poisonous amanita. If it is turning yellow inside, that means the spores are starting to form. And if it's already full of spores, then there'd be a powder inside. You can't eat it then either. Outside of that, this is one of the easiest to recognize and smell it. Wonderful smell. Here, pass around the pieces. We're gonna drop some. Can you get that? Here, everyone can smell this. There. Yeah, you cook this up. There's not much of it, unfortunately. which means roughened ring. This is the wine-cap Stropharia mushroom. Stropharia rugoso-annulata. It has a reddish-brown cap, smooth cap, sometimes with cracks in it. It has wine-colored gills underneath. And it has a ring with little vertical lines on it. That's why it's called rugoso-annulata. That means roughened ring. It will pass around the ring. Everyone can see the little lines on it.
On the stem, you mean?
On the ring. See the lines on the ring?
I guess.
Sort of, here. Little vertical lines.
Actually, in the gills.
The ring comes from the veil that protects the gills. Yeah, that's the skirt. And this one is also incredible. Let's look at a younger one. I think I saw some dates. Since it's a wine cap, you add some wine, a little bit of nutmeg and fennel, and a dash of salt. You cover the pan and let it cook in its own juices on low heat for about 10 minutes. Then you remove the cover. You turn the heat on high and you cook, stirring constantly until all the liquid is evaporated. And you again have something absolutely out of this world. It tastes totally different from the print. Because it looks like a cogwheel underneath, which Amanitas don't. I'm not sure what this is between the gills and the stem. Can everyone see the little space between the gills and the stem? That's called free gills.
Yeah.
And you can actually remove the gills from the mushroom without tearing them because they're not attached to the stem. You can do that with the prince mushroom too, but you can't do that with a wine cap, which has gills that are attached to the stem. These gills are pink, and the top of this mushroom is white and smooth, very soft mushroom. Also decomposes wood chips, and this is the white fawn mushroom. There's a brown fawn mushroom that's more usual. It's not, has no poisons in it, but it has no flavor. Nice smell. Pass it around. Very soft mushroom. Not really significant.
Describe how it's
Genus
germinates.
Phallus. I don't know why they call it that.
I have no idea.
No idea whatsoever. It smells horrible. It's slimy, and it attracts flies. The spores are in the slime, and the flies then spread the spores. It's also a decomposer. Tell us what this smells like.
You can smell it very well.
Decay.
This smells so, rancid decay, which is what's going to attract flies.
When I haven't cleaned it for 3 months.
Yeah, this is just the kind of thing that flies like. So it's a very advanced form of life, because with flowers, it wasn't until the age of the dinosaurs that plants invented ways of attracting insects, namely by using flowers. Before that, all the plants would spread their pollen by wind pollination, which is quite inefficient. Yeah. And this has caught up to the flowering plants. It attracts insects, not by smelling sweet to attract bees, but by smelling rank to attract flies. It is a stinkhorn. Does anyone have a little extra?
Wild raisin.
No, it's related.
Seaboiled viburnum.
Seaboiled. Yeah, this is the seaboiled viburnum. Viburnums are all shrubs. They have no trunk, unlike elephants and trees. The leaves are always in pairs. They have 5-petaled white flowers in umbrella-like clusters in the spring, and then they have umbrella-like clusters of fruit in the fall. The ones that are not shriveled up and decomposing, you can eat. They have a sweet flavor. They're small. There's not much to them. Who would like to try one? They're good. And before you get really into it, there's another edible one behind it. This is called the Japanese yew. It's spelled Y-E-W. It's an evergreen with flat needles and very sweet jelly-like fruit with a seed inside that you spit out. Be sure to spit out the seed, because if you swallow enough of the seeds, your heart will stop. Outside of that, it's harmless.
Just to have these in my
They're
front
very
yard.
good. They're very good. Okay, tell us what they taste like. called viburnum. It's an ornamental cultivated grape. Yeah, eat it and spit out the seed.
Try to get a ripe one.
Like a cherry seed. Eat the whole thing and then spit the seed out.
They may, here's another one. They may have the
They
other
taste
places,
like
they may
jelly,
have it
they're
where it's not overripe, is it? You know, it's a lot of New York.
You,
There's
yeah.
another good one.
There's a Himalayan yew where they harvest the needle. If you're a tree with needles in the winter, yes, well, and breaks, well, this will not break. Look, it bends. So along come human beings, aggressive apes with big brains, and what will they do with something that's flexible? What weapon will they make? France, he had political problems at home, so he solved it by starting a war with France. The 100 Years' War wasn't fighting. He needed to get out of trouble.
Onion stock lepiota.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay. Okay, we're going to head over to
Not edible.
Belvedere Castle. Not Belvedere Castle. The Theater. Oh, people, don't take any of the cultivated flowers in the Shakespeare garden. Roundish, slightly lobed, toothed leaves. Usually the squirrels get all the hazelnuts. Look around and see if you find any. Maybe it'll be different this time. So far, I've never found a single hazelnut on anything.
Hazelnut.
I still don't see any. Or red things. Oh, those are carnelian cherries.
That's the end
There are
bud.
carnelian cherry trees all over here. So if during lunch you want some carnelian cherries,
Not stocked end bud.
What kind you buy in the store?
this is what it looks. Maybe there are more on the tree somewhere.
on the ground.
It was on the ground. Okay, this is what the people come over here. This is something you will not have seen if you've been on all my tours in 15 years. We finally got our first hazelnut.
Is this the kind you can eat?
Yes?
Like in the store?
Yes. Yes.
Why is
Well,
it so-
better.
why is it so rare?
The squirrels seem to get them.
It's a real tree, this is?
A bush. It's
Oh,
a bush.
okay.
It's a bush.
This one.
Okay, let's open this up. Those are acorns. And here's the hazelnut. Look, it looks like the hazelnuts you buy in the store.
Yeah, right.
Yes. See, good nuts were called full-bearded nuts, and mediocre nuts were called half-bearded nuts. And the hazelnut is one of the best nuts, so it's a full-bearded nut, so that's where the name filbert comes from. Okay, let's see if we can find a suitable rock, and then we'll crack it open. Someone find.
Little, part
I
that
see
was on
some.
the outside of it.
That's the husk. Our ancestors did. Okay, let's see what happens. Fell through. Oh, we'll do it on this. We'll do it on the sidewalk.
Try this one.
That's why the squirrels get it so easily. And here's the hazelnut. And you found it, so you get to try it. Tell us how it tastes. Try to give the rest of it out. Delicious? Looking. Excuse me? No, there aren't any there. I'm talking about them, and I do have a right to talk. It's the First Amendment.
We heard somebody telling the people to go in there to pick them up.
No, I have not told people. Please don't accuse people of doing things they're not doing. Okay, as I was saying, this is the purple flowering raspberries. There are no raspberries on here. We did find some of these in Alley Pond Park a couple of weeks ago. But apparently the season is over.
We say raspberries?
Purple flowering raspberry.
Purple flower. Oh, I see.
You notice the leaves are.
Unfortunately, this time we are too late. Yeah, they're big. This is the only one that I illustrated in my book. What is this plant? That's a rose. It's a cultivated species. It has the most awful tasting rosehip fruit imaginable.
Purple
If you
flowering
go to the
raspberry.
seashore, there are thickets of a rose species from Europe called the multiflora rose, and that has absolutely delicious and no Nancy Gardner make false accusations. The fruit of the rose. Yeah, no.
Yeah, they are. They're really incredible.
And this is raspberries?
Yep, purple. Yeah, purple flowering.
Raspberries?
That's right.
Excuse me, please.
Yes?
I'm trying to tell you this. You not supposed to pick them up, all right? Okay? I work for the Parks Authority. I know what's going on, all right?
For the larva, which lives in here until it goes through the pupa stage, and then it makes a little hole and emerges. Let's see if there's a hole here.
So inside there's something in it.
There might still be something in it. Once in a while we cut these open. Let's go over to the stone here and see if there's anything in there. Yeah, I don't really see anything. There are hundreds of mites and wasps that make galls like this, it galls me to say. And they usually don't kill the tree because then they'd have no home. To avoid planting.
Turkey oak.
Here's the acorn.
You know, if you cut the acorns, the tannins come out a lot easier. It gets to the middle.
Yeah. Next time I try this, white oak acorns with blunt-edged leaves, as opposed to the red oak group, which has pointy-edged leaves, have less of this awful bitter tannin in them. And if you put the acorns after you've shelled them into a blender and then to grind them up and then boil them in repeated changes of water and get rid of the tannin.
European tree. It's not natural in America. Turkey oak. Dark bark.
So it's like a
But Gary Linkoff has had success. I don't know. A little bit darker, but these look like they're essentially ripe. This is the hackberry tree. It has alternating leaves. The leaves have a pointy tip and they have an uneven base. One side of the base is always higher and one side of the base is lower. The fruit hangs from a separate fruit stalk. And this is what they look like when they're ripe. They're a dark reddish brown, and you eat them and spit out the seed. It has a big seed inside. First hackberries I've had this year. This is the seed. Now, over 100 years ago, Darwin, the name of Dubois, thought that maybe they evolved in Asia. And he went to Asia, he got stationed in the military, and spent as much time and money as he could having workmen dig up in the caves. They found piles of hackberry pits, so that our ancestor was apparently eating these as well. Any comments on the flavor? I think these are wonderful.
Let me get it over against your shirt. There we go. I'm just holding your hand like this for the contrast.
Yeah, brownish red or reddish brown.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
These are quite good. Any other comments on this? I like hackberries.
Isn't it apple tree that's a little like that?
The apple tree has a more craggy looking bark. Okay, and who's this over here? Most years at the start of September, there are no black cherries left.
Gnarled bark, gnarled trunk rather, for the hackberry, gray bark. Garlic mustard.
Okay, Chris found some more up here. There's another russula. Okay, there's another forest russula on the right. The russula has no flavor.
Right here on the ground in front of you are the boletes. So you can grab
Oh,
those.
look at this, ling chi.
That's a turkey mushroom?
No, that's the ling chi. That you make, it's hard as wood. You boil it, it makes a tea that's good for the immune system. Okay, and you found... And it tastes like corn on the cob. This is one you give to people who are afraid of eating wild foods. Because chickens love chickweed, and if someone's afraid of it, that means they're chickens, so they'll love it. Tastes like corn on the cob. Opposite stalk, spade-shaped leaves. An excellent diuretic. If you make a tea out of it, it makes a good poultice for skin problems.
Does it matter how big the leaf is?
No, the leaf never gets very big. Here you go. You eat the leaves and the stems.
Look at the delicious crab apples over there.
They're delicious ones?
Yes,
They're not
yes.
sour.
Sour, yes, but they're delicious.
Chickweed.
Sweet and sour.
Here you go. Tastes like
Certainly
corn.
does taste like corn.
Yes, the whole thing. The whole thing. Okay, as soon as Chris is finished taping it. Now the crab apples on the tree back there are always getting very bitter. When they're very young. For about 20 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. For proper food combining, books definitely check out is one, a book called Natural Healing by Dr. Jack Soltanoff.
Okay.
S-O-L-T-A-N-O-F-F. It's
Okay.
a Warner publication, 1988.
Okay.
And that one, especially for food combining, is really, really wonderful.
Uh-huh.
The other book to read is called The Mucusless Diet Healing System.
Uh-huh.
And that's by Professor Arnold Ehret. And this was published in around first published in the 1920s, and you can generally find it.
Wow.
The human body hasn't changed much since then.
Right.
You can generally find that in your health food store.
Uh-huh.
That's very common. It's a small paperback.
Okay.
And the other book, which is really excellent about food combining, is entitled Food Combining and Digestion by Steve Meyerowitz. And that's within 1994, 95, 96. And I think it's Sprout House Publications. I'm not sure.
I can find it.
One of those three are like the actual, definitely the best.
And this one too?
Wild edible lunch. This is a caramelized onion with milky mushrooms, one of the Tolopolis
mushrooms, a rusty sport. Some kimchi made with firm tofu, squid, and Chenopodium album leaves. Overall shot right now.
Oichi. Oichi.
Hey, shoot over here.
Okay, hand. Hand is still in the picture. There you go.
sure?
Yep. Okay, move your hand.